The stars had always seemed peaceful to Admiral. For 30 years he had served in the United Earth Fleet, and in all that time humanity had never fired a weapon in anger. They were explorers, scientists, diplomats. They believed in peace. That belief died on a cold Tuesday morning. Stood on the bridge of the battleship Dawn of Sol, watching his screens with tired eyes. His shift was almost over. He was thinking about his daughter back on Earth, about the birthday present he still needed to buy her. Simple thoughts, normal thoughts. Then the alarm started screaming. "Sir," his communications officer, a young woman named, turned to him with wide eyes. "We are receiving emergency signals from Colony 7. Hundreds of them, they say. They say they are under attack." Felt his blood turn cold. Colony 7 was a farming world. 12 million people lived there. Families, children, old people who wanted to spend their final years under an alien sun. There was no military base, no weapons, nothing worth attacking. "Show me," he said. The main screen changed. Saw fire. He saw ships he did not recognize dropping bombs on cities. He saw buildings falling. He saw people running through streets filled with smoke and death. "Who is doing this?" he whispered. "The ships match design," said his tactical officer, a man named Bong. His voice was shaking. "Sir, the Empire is attacking our colony." They knew them. Everyone knew them. They were an old empire, proud and powerful. They had always looked at humans with disgust, calling them weak and soft. But they had signed peace treaties. They had shaken hands with Earth's leaders. They had promised friendship. Now they were burning children alive. "Get me a direct line to the colony," ordered. "Now." Worked fast. A moment later, a face appeared on screen. It was Governor, a woman had met once at a diplomatic dinner. She had laughed at his jokes. She had told him about her plans to plant cherry trees across the entire colony. Now her face was covered in blood. Behind her could see flames and hear screaming. "Admiral," she said. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. "They came without warning, no message, no demands, they just started killing. I have requested evacuation ships, but they are shooting them down. They are shooting down civilian ships full of children." Gripped the edge of his console. His knuckles turned white. "How many?" he asked. "Millions," said. "They used nuclear bombs on our 3 biggest cities in the first minute. Sol 2, New, and Colony are gone, just gone. The rest of us are trying to reach shelters, but the soldiers are hunting us. They are going door to door. They are not taking prisoners." Heard a child crying somewhere behind. Then he heard shooting. "Governor," he said, "we are coming, hold on, we are coming." Smiled. It was a sad smile, the kind of smile people give when they know the truth. "You will not reach us in time," she said. "We both know that, but I want you to do something for me, Admiral. I want you to remember what happened here. Remember the names. Remember the faces. And when the time comes, I want you to make sure they answer for this." The signal cut off, stared at the empty screen. Around him his crew was frozen. Some were crying, some were praying. A young officer named threw up in the corner. Nobody blamed him. Opened a channel to Earth Command. The face of General appeared. He was an old man with gray hair and hard eyes. He had fought in the last war before peace 50 years ago. He knew what violence looked like. "I have seen the reports," said before could speak. "The fleet is too big. If you try to engage them, you will die." "Sir, there are 12 million people." "There were 12 million people," said. His voice was like ice. "The latest satellite images show nothing. The entire colony is gone. They used planet-killing weapons. The surface is glass. Could not breathe, 12 million people, gone, in less than an hour." "Why?" he managed to ask. "Why would they do this?" Was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was different, harder, older. "Because they could," he said. "Because they thought we would not fight back. Because they wanted to send a message to the galaxy that humans are weak, that humans can be killed without cost." Thought about Governor, about her cherry trees that would never be planted, about the child crying in the background, about the shooting that followed. "What do we do, sir?" he asked. Leaned forward. His eyes were burning with something had never seen before. It was not anger, it was not grief. It was something darker, something ancient. "We do nothing," said. "For now. We receive their diplomats. We listen to their excuses. We let them think they have won. And then, when they have forgotten to be afraid of us, we remind them why the old Earth stories were full of monsters in human shape." The transmission ended. Stood alone on his bridge, surrounded by crying officers and screaming alarms. He looked at the screens showing the burned world that used to be Colony 7. He thought about his daughter on Earth. He thought about what kind of galaxy she would grow up in. Then he made a decision. He walked to the ship's memorial wall, where the names of fallen soldiers were carved. He picked up a laser tool and began to carve. He carved for hours. He carved until his hands bled. He carved the names of 12 million people who had died for no reason. When he finished, he stepped back and read the final words he had added at the bottom. "Never again, never forgot, never forgiven." The war had not started yet. They were celebrating their easy victory. The galaxy was watching and waiting. But on the bridge of the dawn of Sol, Admiral made a promise to the dead. Humanity would remember. Humanity would wait. And when the time came, humanity would show the universe why even the gods in the old stories feared the anger of men. The stars no longer seemed peaceful to Admiral. They looked like targets. The Galactic Council Chamber was the largest room in the known universe. It floated in the empty space between 3 star systems, a massive sphere made of crystal and light. Inside, representatives from 800 different species sat in rising circles, their seats arranged by how long their kind had been part of galactic civilization. Humans sat near the bottom. They had joined only 200 years ago. To the older races, they were still children. Ambassador walked into the chamber with slow, careful steps. He was 60 years old, with gray hair and a face that rarely showed emotion. For 30 years, he had represented Earth in this chamber. He had smiled at insults. He had nodded at mockery. He had swallowed his pride 1,000 times to keep the peace. Today, he was not smiling. The chamber fell silent as he reached the speaking platform. 800 species watched him with 800 different kinds of eyes. Some looked curious. Some looked amused. A few, the ones who knew humanity better than most, looked afraid. The ambassador, a tall creature with blue skin and 4 arms, stood up from his seat. "I must ask why this emergency session has been called," he said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "If this is about the unfortunate incident at the human colony, I remind the Council that the Empire has already explained. Those were rebel ships. We had no control over their actions. We offer our deep sadness for the loss of life." Looked at him, he did not speak. "Furthermore," they continued, "we have offered fair payment, 10,000 credits per human lost. This is more than generous, more than any species has ever offered for such an accident." Still said nothing. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small object. It was his diplomatic badge, a golden pin that marked him as Earth's voice in the Council. He had worn it every day for 30 years. He set it down on the speaking platform. "What is the meaning of this?" asked the Council Chairman, an ancient being made of living light. "Ambassador, please explain your actions." Finally spoke. His voice was quiet, but somehow it filled the entire chamber. "For 200 years, humanity has been part of this council. We came in peace. We asked for nothing but friendship. We shared our art, our music, our stories. When other species were in trouble, we sent help. When wars broke out, we offered to negotiate. We believed, truly believed, that civilization meant protecting the weak and punishing the cruel." He paused. The chamber was completely silent. 3 days ago, the Empire killed 12 million of our people. They used nuclear weapons on cities full of children. They sent soldiers to hunt down survivors. They destroyed everything, then they came here and called it an accident. The ambassador started to speak, raised his hand. I am not finished. Something in his voice made the close his mouth. We received a transmission from Colony 7 during the attack, continued. Governor sent us everything. Video, audio, records of commanders laughing as they gave orders to bomb hospitals, records of soldiers taking pictures with dead children, records of your emperor personally approving the attack 3 days before it happened. The chamber erupted. Hundreds of voices shouted at once. The ambassador's face turned dark purple. Lies, he screamed. Human lies, you have no proof. Touched a button on his wrist. The chamber's holographic displays activated. Suddenly, the air was filled with images, burning cities, running people, dead children, and audio clear as crystal of the emperor saying, burn them all, let no human survive. Let the galaxy see what happens to those who think they are our equals. The chamber fell silent again. This time, the silence was different. It was the silence of 800 species realizing that everything had changed. The Empire has committed genocide, said. This is not politics. This is not war. This is murder on a scale that cannot be measured. And this council, this great council of civilized species, what did you do? He looked around the room. His eyes stopped on each ambassador, one by one. You sent us a message asking for patience. You told us to wait for an investigation. You suggested that perhaps we had done something to deserve this. You offered us a seat at the negotiation table with the people who killed our children. He picked up his diplomatic badge. Humanity came to the stars looking for friends. We found you instead. You are not civilized. You are not just. You are cowards who hide behind treaties while innocents burn. He crushed the badge in his hand. Metal screamed and bent. When he opened his palm, only dust remained. Earth officially withdraws from the Galactic Council, he said. All treaties signed by humanity are now void. All diplomatic relationships are ended. All promises we made are forgotten. The council chairman leaned forward. Ambassador, former ambassador, please think carefully. You cannot survive without the council. Humanity is too young, too weak. You need our protection. Smiled, it was not a pleasant smile. For 200 years, humanity has followed your rules. We limited our weapons. We reduced our fleet. We kept our true technology hidden because you told us it was civilized to be weak. You told us that violence was primitive. You told us that the galaxy had evolved beyond war. He began walking toward the exit. We stop being civilized now. The words hung in the air like thunder. The Empire has 100 days to surrender every person involved in the 7 Massacre. After that, Earth will come for them, and we will not negotiate. We will not discuss. We will not forgive. The ambassador laughed. 100 days, surrender. Human, your entire fleet could not defeat one of our battle groups. Your threats are empty air. Stopped at the door, he looked back over his shoulder. 200 years ago, when humanity first met alien life, we made a choice. We decided to show you our best face, our kindness, our patience, our hope. We put away our weapons. We forgot our wars. We pretended that we had always been peaceful. His voice dropped to a whisper that somehow echoed louder than any shout. We lied. He walked out. Behind him, the chamber exploded into chaos. Ambassadors screamed at each other. Military leaders demanded action. The council chairman tried to restore order. But in the corner of the room, the ambassador from the Forge world, an ancient species that had watched humanity since their first steps into space, sat very still. His assistant leaned over. Should we be concerned? The assistant asked. The old ambassador nodded slowly. More than concerned, he said. In all my centuries of life, I have seen many species rise and fall. I have watched empires crumble and civilizations burn, but I have never been as afraid as I am right now. Why the humans are weak, everyone knows this. The old ambassador shook his head. No, the humans made us believe they were weak. There is a difference. I have seen their history. I have read their stories. Do you know what they did to each other before they reached the stars? The wars they fought, the weapons they created. He stood up slowly, his ancient bones creaking. They have just woken something that should have stayed asleep. And when the humans come, and they will come, there will be no negotiation. There will be no mercy. There will only be the thing that all of humanity's enemies learned throughout their history. What thing? The old ambassador walked toward the exit, following the path had taken. That the most dangerous creature in the universe is a human with nothing left to lose. Deep beneath the surface of Earth's moon, in tunnels that no satellite had ever detected, General walked through darkness. His footsteps echoed against metal floors that had not felt the touch of feet in 50 years. Emergency lights flickered to life as he passed, ancient systems waking from their long sleep. He was not alone. Behind him walked Captain, a woman half his age with eyes that had seen too much death too young. She had been stationed at a listening post near Colony 7. She had heard every scream, every prayer, every final goodbye. "Sir," she said as they walked deeper into the tunnel, "the Council says we have no fleet capable of matching the. Every intelligence report agrees. We have 30 battleships. They have 3,000. Smiled. It was the smile of a man holding a secret. "The Council knows what we wanted them to know," he said. "When humanity first reached the stars, our leaders made a decision. They looked at the galaxy and saw thousands of species, all armed, all dangerous, all watching us with hungry eyes. They knew that if we showed our true strength, we would become a target. They reached a massive door. It was black metal, 20 meters tall, covered in warning signs in 30 languages. Pressed his hand against a scanner. The door groaned and began to open. So we played weak," he continued. "We showed the galaxy our smallest ships, our oldest weapons. We let them laugh at us. We let them think we were harmless. And while they laughed, while they ignored us, we built something else." The door opened fully. Captain stopped breathing. The cavern beyond was vast beyond imagination. It stretched for kilometers in every direction, carved from the moon's rock by machines that had worked in secret for 2 centuries. And filling that cavern, floating in perfect rows, were ships. Thousands of ships. They were black as space, shaped like knives, covered in weapons that did not recognize. They made the battleships look like toys. They made every ship in the known galaxy look like children's drawings. What is this?" she whispered. "Project Black Sun," said. "Humanity's true fleet. Every generation our best scientists were brought here in secret. They were told the truth about the galaxy. They were told that someday we would need weapons that could match any enemy. They worked their entire lives, never telling anyone, never seeing sunlight, never leaving these tunnels." He walked toward the nearest ship. Its surface seemed to drink the light. "These ships do not travel through normal space," he said. "They fold reality. They can cross the galaxy in hours. Their weapons do not shoot missiles or lasers. They unmake matter at the atomic level. One of these ships could destroy a planet in seconds." Counted the rows, 10 ships wide, 100 ships deep, 20 levels. 20,000, she said. "You have 20,000 of these ships." 23,412, corrected. "Plus support vessels, plus weapons platforms, plus things that I am not allowed to describe until we are at war." He turned to face her. "Captain, you are here because you survived 7. You heard our people die. You carry their voices with you. I need someone who will never forget, never hesitate, never show mercy to those who showed us none." Thought about the screaming, the crying children, the laughing soldiers. "What do you need me to do, sir?" Handed her a black badge. On it was a single symbol, a human skull surrounded by stars. You will lead the first strike fleet, 100 of our fastest, most powerful ships. You will be the first thing to see when their sky turns dark. You will be the last thing they remember before their world burns. Took the badge. Her hand did not shake. The 100 Days ambassador mentioned, she said. That was real. It was real, said, but not for the reason the council thinks. We do not need 100 days to prepare. We could strike tomorrow. The 100 days are for something else. For what? His face grew dark. For them to feel fear. For them to watch their allies abandon them. For them to understand slowly and completely that they are going to die and nothing in the universe can save them. That is not cruelty, Captain. That is justice. They walked through the cavern past rows of sleeping warships. Technicians were already appearing, pulled from retirement, their old uniforms still fitting after all these years. They moved with purpose, connecting power lines, running diagnostics, waking the machines that had waited so long. Stopped at a particular ship. It was larger than the others, its surface covered in strange symbols that seemed to move when she looked away. What is this one? She asked. Stood beside her. That is the dawn of vengeance, the most powerful weapon humanity has ever built. It is not meant for war. It is meant for ending wars. One shot from its main cannon can crack a planet in half. One burst from its secondary weapons can destroy a fleet. It has enough power to burn a star. Why would we need something like that? Did not answer immediately. He looked at the ship with old, sad eyes. Because sometimes, he finally said, mercy is not enough. Sometimes the only way to protect the innocent is to make the guilty so afraid that they never dare harm anyone again. The killed 12 million of our people to send a message. The dawn of vengeance is our reply. Touched the ship's surface. It was warm, almost alive. When do we leave? In 97 days. You will spend that time training, preparing, memorizing every detail of space. You will know their worlds better than they know themselves. You will find their hiding places, their escape routes, their secrets. And when the 100 days end, you will take everything from them. He placed his hand on her shoulder. But remember this, Captain. We are not monsters. We do not kill innocents. When you strike only those who deserve death. Every soldier who followed orders, every commander who gave them, every leader who planned the massacre. Them, and only them. And if innocents stand in the way. His eyes grew hard. Then we find another way, always, because that is what separates us from them. They killed our children because they could. We kill their guilty because we must. The moment we become like them, we lose everything worth fighting for. Nodded slowly. Around them the cavern was coming alive. Lights were brightening. Engines were humming. 20,000 ships were waking from their long sleep, hungry for the sky. One more question, sir, said. Ask. The council, everyone, they thought we were weak. They laughed at our small fleet, our limited weapons. How did we hide all of this for 200 years? Smiled. It was the first genuine smile she had seen on his face. Because humanity learned long ago that the best weapon is the one your enemy does not know exists. We played the fool. We let them underestimate us. We smiled when they insulted us. And all the while, we prepared for the day when smiling would no longer be enough. He turned and walked toward the command center, where officers were already gathering. Now that day has come. The galaxy will learn what humans really are, and they will learn it in fire and blood and screaming. Captain looked up at the endless rows of warships. She thought about Colony 7, about the children who would never grow up, about the families that had been erased from existence. Then she walked toward her ship, toward her crew, toward the war that would change the galaxy forever. Behind her, the dawn of vengeance hummed with power, waiting for its moment. The hunt was about to begin. Day 100 came without warning. The Emperor sat in his throne room, surrounded by advisors and guards. For 3 months, he had watched the galaxy laugh at humanity's empty threats. He had received messages from every major species offering alliance against the humans, just in case. He had increased his fleet to 5,000 ships, more than enough to crush any enemy. He was not worried. Humans were weak. Everyone knew this. Then the sky above his turned black. It happened in an instant. One moment the twin suns were shining. The next they were blocked by shapes, thousands of shapes, ships that had appeared from nowhere, hanging in the air like dark angels. The Emperor stood up slowly. "What is this?" he demanded. "Where did they come from? Our sensors showed nothing." His military commander was already screaming into communication devices. "All fleet units, emergency positions. The human fleet has arrived. I repeat, the human fleet." He stopped talking, his mouth hung open. "Commander," the Emperor said, "report." The commander turned to face him. His blue skin had turned pale gray. "Sire," he said, "our fleet, our entire home defense fleet, they are gone." "Gone? What do you mean, gone?" "The human ships fired once, just once, and our fleet, 1,200 ships, they simply stopped existing. There is nothing left, not debris, not bodies, nothing. They were unmade." The Emperor looked up through the glass ceiling of his throne room. The human ships were descending slowly, like predators taking their time with wounded prey. In the center of their formation, one ship was larger than all the others. It was blacker than space, shaped like a spear aimed at his heart. A communication screen flickered to life. Captain's face appeared. "Emperor of the Empire," she said. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. 100 days ago, your forces killed 12 million of my people, men, women, children. You burned our colony to glass and called it an accident. You offered us money for our dead and called it generous." The Emperor tried to speak. No words came out. "Today, the payment comes due. You have 1 hour to surrender every person involved in the 7 massacre, every soldier, every commander, every advisor who approved the attack. If you refuse or if you try to resist, we will turn you into a grave." The screen went dark. The Emperor turned to his advisors. "Contact the Galactic Council. Contact our allies. Someone must help us." His communication officer was crying. "Sire, I have been trying. The Council says. They say this is an internal human matter. They will not interfere." "Our allies." "They are not responding. All of them. It is as if they have decided we no longer exist." The Emperor felt his throne room shrinking around him. For 500 years his family had ruled the empire. They had conquered 100 worlds. They had crushed 1,000 enemies. They had never known fear. He knew it now. In orbit, Captain waited. Beside her stood Lieutenant, a young man whose entire family had died on Colony 7. His wife, his daughter, his parents, everyone he had ever loved turned to ash in a single morning. Captain said, "They are launching escape ships. The Emperor is trying to run." Nodded, "Shoot them down, all of them. No one leaves until we have what we came for." His fingers moved across his console. One by one, the escape ships vanished from the sky. There were no explosions. The human weapons simply erased them from existence. "Ma'am," another officer said, "we are receiving a surrender transmission. The Emperor agrees to hand over the guilty. He is sending a list." Looked at the list. 3,000 names. Every soldier who had set foot on Colony 7. Every commander who had given orders. Every officer who had planned the attack. But one name was missing. "Tell the Emperor," she said, "that he forgot to include himself." The response came quickly, the Emperor's voice shaking with fear. "I did not order the attack personally. I merely approved the recommendation of my advisors. I am innocent. I did not know they would use such extreme measures." Turned to her crew. Every face was hard as stone. "Governor sent us a recording before she died," said. In that recording, the Emperor's voice is clear. He says, "Burn them all. Let no human survive." Does anyone here believe he is innocent? No one spoke. Open the communication channel. "Emperor, you have 59 minutes left. Add your name to the list or join your fleet." The Emperor refused. 40 minutes later, he changed his mind. But by then, it was too late. The human ships had already begun landing soldiers on the surface, not to conquer, not to occupy, just to collect. Lieutenant led the team that entered the throne room. The Emperor was sitting on his throne, trying to look proud. His guards had already surrendered. "You cannot do this," the Emperor said. "I am the ruler of 1,000 worlds. I have rights under galactic law." Walked up to him slowly. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small photograph. It showed a woman holding a baby, both of them smiling. "This was my wife," said. "This was my daughter. They were on Colony 7. They were hiding in a basement when your soldiers found them. The soldiers did not kill them quickly." The Emperor's face went pale. "I have watched the recordings," continued. "I have seen what your soldiers did before they killed my family. I have heard my daughter screaming for her father. I have heard my wife begging for mercy, and I have heard your soldiers laughing." He put the photograph away. "Stand up." The Emperor stood. His legs were shaking. "You will be taken to Earth. You will face trial before the families of every person who died on Colony 7. They will decide your punishment, and whatever they choose, you will accept it, because you stopped being a person the moment you gave the order to burn our children." The Emperor was led away in chains. Around him, his advisors and commanders were being collected, each one marked with the names of the people they had killed. In orbit, Captain watched the procession. "Ma'am," her communications officer said, "we are receiving transmissions from other colonies. They are asking for mercy. They say they had no part in the massacre." Thought for a long moment. "Do we have evidence connecting them to 7? "No, ma'am. The colonists were not involved. Most of them did not even know about the attack until it was over." "Then leave them alone. We came for the guilty, not the innocent. Tell them that Earth has no quarrel with those who did not raise their hands against us." The officer nodded and began transmitting. Behind, Lieutenant approached. "Some would say we should punish them all," he said. "An eye for an eye, a world for a world." Turned to face him. "And that is exactly what the thought when they attacked our colony, that humans were all the same. That killing 12 million of us would teach the rest a lesson. If we become like them, we prove them right." She looked out at the still whole, still alive. "We are not conquerors, we are not monsters. We are the ones who answer for the dead, nothing more, nothing less." The fleet began to withdraw, taking 3,000 prisoners to face justice. Behind them, the Empire still stood, broken, humiliated, stripped of its leaders and its pride. But alive. Because humanity had remembered what they had forgotten, that true strength is knowing when to stop. The galaxy watched in silence. For the first time in history, they understood what humanity really was. And they were afraid. 1 year had passed since the fall of the Emperor. The Galactic Council chamber was full again. 800 species sat in their rising circles, watching the central platform with nervous eyes. Everything had changed since the last time a human had stood in this room. Everything was different now. The doors opened, and Commander walked in. She was not dressed as a diplomat. She wore the black uniform of the United Earth Fleet, covered in medals that meant nothing to alien eyes but everything to humans. A single badge sat above her heart, the symbol of Colony 7, a burning cherry tree that would never bloom. Had been the first officer to receive Governor's final transmission. She had heard every word, recorded every image, carried the weight of 12 million voices ever since. Now she carried something else. She carried humanity's new message to the stars. The council chairman, the ancient being of living light, rose from his seat. "Commander," he said, "you have requested this audience to address the full council. We have granted your request, though Earth is no longer a member of this body. Speak, and we will listen." Looked around the room. She saw fear in every face. Good. "1 year ago," she began, "the Empire attacked Colony 7. They killed 12 million humans. Men, women, children, elderly, they did not care. They burned our people alive and called it a lesson." The chamber was silent. "This council did nothing. You sent messages asking for patience. You suggested negotiations. You offered us seats at tables where we would sit across from the people who murdered our children. You treated genocide as a diplomatic problem." The council chairman started to speak, raised her hand. "I am not finished." The chairman fell silent. Even he was afraid now. "When humanity left this council, we made a promise. We said we would stop being civilized. Many of you thought you knew what that meant. You thought it meant we would become savages, animals, monsters without conscience or control." She smiled. It was not a kind smile. "You were wrong." She began walking slowly around the platform, her eyes moving from species to species. "Do you know what happened to the Empire? We destroyed their fleet. We captured their leaders. We brought 3,000 war criminals back to Earth to face trial. Every single one of them was convicted. Every single one of them was executed." A wave of whispers passed through the chamber, continued. "But do you know what we did not do? We did not burn their cities. We did not murder their civilians. We did not poison their water or salt their fields or destroy their hospitals. We did not teach their children to hate. We did not wipe out their species or glass their worlds." She stopped in the center of the platform. "The still stands. Their colonies still function. Their people still live. They lost their leaders, their military, their pride, but they did not lose everything, because humanity remembered something that this council forgot long ago." She looked directly at the council chairman. "Justice is not the same as revenge. Strength is not the same as cruelty. And civilization, true civilization, is not about being too weak to fight. It is about being strong enough to stop." She reached into her pocket and pulled out an object. It was a new badge, golden and shining. On it was the symbol of Earth surrounded by 12 million stars. "Humanity is not rejoining this council," she said. "We do not trust you. We do not respect you. We will never again put our safety in your hands." She set the badge down on the speaking platform. "But we are offering something else. A new treaty, a new understanding, one that does not require friendship or respect, one that only requires honesty." She activated a holographic display. Text appeared in the air, visible to everyone. "These are the terms. Any species that attacks human civilians will face immediate response. No warnings, no negotiations, no appeals to the council, just ships in your sky and fire in your cities." The chamber erupted in angry voices, waited calmly until they fell silent. "But any species that treats humanity with basic dignity will find us to be reliable partners. We will trade fairly. We will help in emergencies. We will defend those who cannot defend themselves." She deactivated the display. "This is not a threat. This is not blackmail. This is simply the truth. Humanity has learned that kindness without strength is an invitation to be destroyed. We will never be weak again. We will never hide our power again. We will never pretend that words on paper can protect our children from those who wish them harm." The council chairman leaned forward. "And if we refuse your terms, if this council declares humanity to be a rogue species, a danger to galactic peace?" Laughed. It was a cold sound. "Then you are welcome to try enforcing that declaration. Our fleet will be waiting." She turned to leave, then stopped. "One last thing. I know many of you still do not understand why we acted as we did. You think we overreacted. You think 12 million deaths did not justify the destruction of an empire. Her voice grew hard. Let me explain it to you in terms even the oldest species can understand. Those 12 million people were not numbers. They were not statistics. They were mothers who sang their children to sleep, fathers who worked long hours to give their families better lives, children who dreamed of touching the stars. She touched the badge above her heart. Governor wanted to plant cherry trees across her entire colony. She wanted to show the galaxy that humanity could bring beauty to any world. Her last words were a request that we remember, and that we make the guilty answer for what they did. Her eyes were burning now. We remembered, they answered, and any species that thinks of following the example will remember too. She walked toward the door. This audience is over. The council may debate our terms for as long as it wishes. Our ships will remain in position until we receive your answer. If that answer is war, so be it. If that answer is peace, we welcome it. She paused at the door. But remember this, humanity offered friendship first. We offered peace first. We offered trust first. You answered with mockery and murder. What comes next is your choice, not ours. She walked out. The chamber was silent for a very long time. Then slowly species began to rise. One by one they announced their acceptance of humanity's terms. The great empires, the ancient civilizations, the proud warrior races, all of them bowing to a species that had been laughing stock just 2 years ago. Only a few refused. They were small, weak, isolated. They would learn in time or they would not. Outside the council chamber, Commander stood at a viewing window. She looked at the stars, the same stars she had looked at as a child, dreaming of adventure and discovery. Admiral walked up beside her. He was older now, his hair completely gray, but his eyes were still sharp. They accepted, he said, all the major powers. The galaxy has a new order and humanity is at its center. Nodded slowly. Is this what we wanted? She asked. Power, fear, control. Was quiet for a moment. No, he finally said. We wanted safety. We wanted to know that our children could look at the stars without fear. We wanted what we had before 7, a universe where hope was possible. And now, looked at the council chamber behind them. Now we have something different, not hope, not fear, something in between. A galaxy that knows what we are capable of and chooses to be our partner rather than our enemy. Touched the badge above her heart one last time. 12 million people, she said. They died because we were too weak to protect them, too trusting, too blind. She straightened her uniform. Never again. They walked away together, toward the ship that would take them home. Behind them, the Galactic Council continued its debates, its arguments, its endless talking. But everything had changed. Humanity had shown the universe what it really was. Not the kindest species, not the most peaceful, not the most forgiving, but perhaps in its own terrible way the most just. And in the stars above Colony 7, where 12 million people had died and cherry trees would never grow, a new station was being built. A memorial, a warning, a promise. Its name was carved into every surface, visible from space, readable in every language the galaxy knew. Remember and never again. The universe would remember. It had no choice.